Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Sounds good. Good again. Testing. You hear now? You hear that? Yeah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. Good. See, Mike?
Fix my mic. She said it was real low. So meaning it's on, but it's we need to turn it up.
Thank you. Okay. Is that better, sisters? Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. Alhamdulillah, we'd like to first thank you all for your patience while we was having technical difficulties, so we got it fixed. We'd like to welcome you all to our second annual Ramadan Iftar fundraising event, inshallah ta'ala. And this Iftar, or this fundraising event, we have given it a name called A Plan and a Purpose. A Plan and a Purpose, inshallah ta'ala. So before we begin, first we'd like to thank everybody who has shown up in person, and also to all those who are online, inshallah ta'ala, viewing this podcast. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in the hadith, "Man la yashkuru nas, la yashkuru Allah." That whoever haven't thanked the people, then they haven't thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in reality. So alhamdulillah, we thank all of you again for showing up. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us benefit in this gathering and to allow us to reach our goal, inshallah ta'ala. So as we mentioned, this will be a fundraiser, and our mission with these fundraisers, and anytime that we ask people to give, or we ask people to donate, or we ask people to contribute, or what all of it is for a mission, and the mission is that we want to continue to have something that will serve us, and that will continue to serve us when we're all gone. You know, and of course, we all know that we're only here for a limited amount of time, whatever time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for us. And during that time, we have to make the most of it. So, one of our goals is that we are working on planting trees that will turn into a building. We are working on planting trees that will turn into a building. So, what do we mean by that? How does that work? So, first, we talk about how do you, with a tree, how does a tree start? It starts with planting seeds, right? And planting a seed means to sow a seed, or and plant something physically so that it will reap a full grown harvest later on, right? So you plant a tree, or you plant flowers, you plant vegetables, anything, and that you hope that it will reap a harvest that you could benefit from. And it also means, in the metaphorical sense, that to lay groundwork for something, that can develop or expand in the future. And so this is what about one of our missions here at the Kubai School and Islamic Center is that we are working on towards something that will expand in the future, that will benefit us for times to come while we're alive, and both while we pass on to the next stage, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already favored us in that He has blessed us to have the seeds planted 40 years ago. 40 years ago. So I have a document here that I'm going to just read some names on it. So to give you a little history of this masjid, because many of you, we have some youth here. Many of you, including myself, we weren't around when this masjid was established. And many of us, we probably weren't even Muslim. And, alhamdulillah, we have people here who've been Muslim all of their lives. And, we also have others like me who converted to Islam, after experiencing disbelief, growing up and going to church, not knowing which way to go, and then going through stages and transitions of different manifestations of what Islam was supposed to be. And that, we're thankful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us to the true Islam. So this document is a historical document. So this is a document that's called the Articles of Incorporation. And the date on here, it was filed October 1st, 1985. October 1st, 1985. So I did say 40 years, right? So that's not 40 years, that's actually 38. So in 38 years ago, in October, that the Articles of Incorporation were put together by a group of brothers. But actually, before that, they started to establish this masjid. So it took them another 2 years to get all of that stuff in order. And so during that time, there's a number of brothers who were a part of this. And so some of those brothers are still around. Uh, there were 5 brothers who were the original members of this community. One of them, his name is Abdul Aziz Farouk. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him a great reward because he was the president here for a long time once they became incorporated in 1985. And so these next names, some of you who are local may recognize, and some who are viewing online, or some of you might never even heard of before. So we have our brother Rahsan Abdul Baki. We have our brother Dawood Abdul Rahman. We have a brother named Fahim Ahmed Nasser and a brother named Tamir Muhammad. Right? Now, all of those 5 names that we mentioned outside of the president, whose name was Abdul Aziz Farouk, the other 4 names, this one brother named Fahim Ahmed Nasser, I don't know who that is. And then the other 2 brothers, Rasan Abdul Baki and Dawood Abdul Rahman, both of these brothers have passed away already. And if some of you know locally, Dawood Abdul Rahman Abdul Baki, he passed away during COVID. May Allah be merciful to him, have mercy on him, and make his grave full of light. I mean. And our beloved elder Dawood Abdul Rahman has just passed on a couple of weeks ago, who was a great pillar in this community. And as you see, he was one of the founding fathers of this masjid. So those people, they have honor with us because they also had a vision to do something to what we have today. Now, and so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on all those brothers, the ones who are still living and the ones who, have passed on. So I promise you, for the next time we have a fundraiser, I have some more intricate details about the history of these brothers and some of the things that they've done. So me myself, being a member here on and off, I first came to this masjid in 1994. In 1994, and some of these brothers from 94, from 1985 up until 94, had already established a community. And so some of the history that I heard back then is that in addition to these five brothers, there were some brothers that I don't even know who they are, but they left this community, they left this masjid in Islam, what's called a waqf. A waqf is something that's an endowment that you leave that's going to be for the benefit of the Muslims throughout the ages to come, inshallah. So it can be a school, a trust, a building, anything that will be exclusively used for the benefit of the Muslims of that community. And so those brothers, alhamdulillah, they donated the building, so they saw a vision as well, you know. And it is said that the day you plant the seed is not the day that you eat the fruit. The day that you plant the seed is not the day that you eat the fruit. So these brothers, with the vision that they had in leaving this endowment to those brothers who were the board of trustees, that they had a vision for this city of Camden, New Jersey, and establishing an Islamic community. And prior to this community, we know that we have our community, our elders, our pioneers from Masjid Noor, that's right around the corner from us. They had the first masjid in the city of Camden, New Jersey, back in the 70s. And they had a masjid in Broadway that had burnt down, caught on fire in like 1980. Was it 1980, please?
About 85.
80 or 85. And so then they uh, they moved to another facility, which is around the corner now, I believe, in 1989. So technically, they are the oldest community in the city of Camden. And but as it stands now, we are currently the oldest Islamic institution in this city of Camden, New Jersey. So we have a great history that we should be proud of, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have us here today. You know, we are the results of some of those seeds and some of those ideas and some of those things that they planted 40 years ago for us to be here and to enjoy the masjid and to be able to pray here and engage each other and see our children running around and build brotherhood and build sisterhood and reach out to our neighbors and our communities that are surrounding us. And since that time, 1983 when they first started, 1985 when they first became incorporated, 1994 is when I first come here, and to the current time that we're here in 2023, it would be safe to say that throughout all of these years, that this community has had its fair share of struggles. It's had its fair share of struggles. And to sum it up, I would say that the fair share of struggles that we had, the result of it is that we missed a lot of great opportunities for cultivation. We missed a lot of great opportunities for cultivation. So it's not to mention it as a blame game or anything like that. It's just that a lot of times, sometimes you can miss something. And when you plant seeds or you're planting a tree, you're planting something that's vegetation, it has to be cared for, it has to be nurtured. And if there's any neglect in doing that, like if you plant flowers, if you have plants in your home, you don't water them, you don't give them sunlight, you don't make sure you change the water of the flowers, then the signs of neglect will start to show. The signs of neglect will start to show. And for this community here, for this masjid, uh, some of those signs throughout the years, they did start to show up because of some of the things, some of the opportunities that were neglected, that were missed. And in any kind of institution that you try to establish, there are always going to be some bumps in the road. And sometimes those bumps in the road left for us here that it became problematic, to say the least. It became problematic. And I myself, in discussing some of the history, early on being young, not being wise, not being a little wiser, and not being careful, you know, I honestly have to say that I was I was part of the problem here, you know, because I didn't listen. You know, people were telling me things, and then we found ourselves sometimes at odds with some of those founding members. Where, and this was some of what we mentioned about some of the opportunities that we missed, where we could have worked together in harmony, because that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed us to do in the Quran. He says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and hold all of you onto the rope of Allah and do not become divided. And because we were neglectful of that command, of that instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we missed a lot. We missed a lot, you know. And if any of you are familiar with the history of this place, many of you who are here might not know that one time, you know, this masjid used to be, it went through stages. You know, it was robust at one time. There was a lot of people. So now, if you see the structure where you can look now, you see from here to the door to the wall there is just an open space. But years ago, there used to be some of the space missing, and if you see on the walls, there's a line there. There used to be a foyer. So when you came into the masjid, you came in through the back door, where the brothers and the sisters went to the side, as it is now, and then there was a little foyer right here between the wall and where the lines are on the wall. There was a place where we used to have a bench and we used to sit down and take our shoes off. And then there was a kitchen in the back of the masjid. So alhamdulillah, in that sense, we had to, you know, do some renovations to expand because the community was growing. So just to tell you a little bit about my history and my journey here. So I came back here. I came here in 1994, and from the years of 1994 to 1997, you know, I was very active here. Me and a group of brothers, we were active, but we were also immature. We were also immature, and we found ourselves at odds with the leadership sometimes, and it became at some instances where, you know, it almost came to blows. You know, so this place has a very history that is not favorable. And in 1997, the administration was here, um, and they asked me and a few other brothers, they asked us to leave. They asked us to leave because of the problems that we were causing. And so once we had to leave, and if anybody has ever had to do a startup, an organization, or any kind of business venture, and when you're starting from scratch, you know, it becomes difficult. You got to start everything, as opposed to walking into a situation that is already running, and then you just help to build on it. So in 1997, they kind of banned me from coming in. That's how much trouble I was causing. And I know you can't really imagine it because I'm like this super perfect man. I don't have no problems. But at that time, there were a lot of problems that we on both sides, you know. And alhamdulillah, we were able to, you know, rectify it in a short period of time. So even when they put my name on in 1997, I was still coming here, which is off and on. Then after that, a few years had passed, and we had opened up another masjid in Pennsauken for a brief time from 1998 until 2000. We had a masjid called Masjid al-Haq Sunnah, and we were there for a couple of years, and we were able to, you know, we were able to grow a little bit with the community, being in service, and there are people who still talk about that community today. And we had some difficulties there at the location that we were. They didn't really want us there. We had some zoning issues, and there was just a lot of difficulties that took place there. And eventually, in the year 2000, we had to leave. So we were Muslims without a place to worship for a minute. And so then I had a bright idea that I was like, you know, we partially rectified some of the stuff from '97, and and I had a bright idea to come back to try to make it better because when you think about this quote that I mentioned earlier, is that when you plant a seed that you don't, the day you plant the seed is not the day that you see its fruit. So I always had this idea that we were working for something greater. And this is what the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, that in our lives, in our struggles, in our worship, in our dedication, in our charity, that we're always working for something greater, and that He is pleased with us and we are pleased with Him. So whatever we do in this life, there's a sense of urgency in trying to reach that goal. So, alhamdulillah, we were able to come back here and we started to build up another rapport. So, of course, once you have fallen out as Muslims, and this is something that we should avoid, but once you start to fall out with your brothers and sisters in Islam, sometimes it's hard to repair those kind of things. And it will put us on edge in some instances if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give us success. So we were able, as I said, we were able to come back and build up a rapport, but there were still little, nuances there. And then another situation happened where it kind of just blew over, and then they didn't want us back again. Um, so from like 2000 to like the end of 2001, 2002, they just told us, we don't want your kind here. So, and then we were kind of wandering again. And I mean, there were people who were still coming here, but it was really, me personally. And so for a few years, um, just kind of wandering around. And this place had become a little dormant, So from the years 2002, and the brother that I mentioned first, whose name was Abdul Aziz Farouk, I believe he ended up leaving as the president. So I'll go back a little bit. We talked about the endowment of WAP. For those who are here and those who are online, next door to this area here, that's a lot now. These buildings that were here. There were two buildings there. They were part of the WAP. They were part of the endowment that we had as a trust to develop. And in the midst of all of these things, of us showing immaturity and lack of concern and neglect and lack of cultivation, we ended up losing those buildings. And then eventually the buildings, we lost this area over here. So, this is one of the signs that if we don't stick together and we don't do our work and be cemented with each other, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove the favor that He has given us. So, when he left, and some of the history was that as we were supposed to develop that building, I remember now that this building was owned by Brother Abdulaziz Farouk. He was the owner of this building, and those buildings were donated. And then we as a community were supposed to develop those buildings. But in the interim of getting those buildings developed, so they were basically abandoned buildings. And so in the interim of getting those buildings developed, Abdulaziz made this building available for us to worship. So essentially, he was the owner. So essentially, he was the owner of this building, but not of the other buildings. So he had say so of what went on here. And needless to say, that if someone owns a property or owns something, then they have say so what goes on, and then they have the final word. So some of that was part of the nuances that we had in working together. But in 2003, I believe it was, so 2003, I wasn't really a part of this community. Um, so he had, from what I heard, I used to keep tabs and people used to contact me that he had left. And I think I came here once in between that time, a couple of times. And it was basically, um, to put it easy, if you remember those old cowboy films, and then when they out in the towns and the towns are deserted, they have tumbleweeds. It shows that there's no activity there. So I came here and it was basically tumbleweeds here. So that was all of that was part of the nuances that we allowed as Muslims as a community that we allowed to get away from us, and it prevented us from really building. And all of it is in a lost time, so it is neither here nor there. So, and then I remember coming here a couple of times, like for Salat, and I seen some key brothers here that I knew who were tried and true. They were tested, and I remember one day specifically, I came here for Salat al Fajr, and I seen some very good brothers that I know. One of them, you all know our brother Hamza Hamid. You know, he was here, and another brother named Zaid. So I didn't know Zaid at the time, but I knew Hamza. You know, may Allah preserve him. And so when I seen him here, and I was like, okay, maybe it's, alhamdulillah, it just struck my attention to see that somebody that I knew and that I respected was here at this place after all of the trials that we went through trying to build and losing a lot of opportunities. So then I came on another occasion for prayer, and so he was here again, and the brother Zayd, and so we sat and talked for a minute. We chopped it up, and then we connected. So they invited me to come back again. I said, okay, inshallah. But because of some of the experiences that I've had here, I was a little reluctant because I didn't want to open up, any kind of old, any old cans of worms or anything that would lead us to have differences again. Because as Muslims, we have to overcome those things, and they're easier said than done. So I didn't want to do that. So I didn't really commit myself. And so one year there was, it was year 2006. There was a brother that passed, and they asked me to do the janazah. And so, alhamdulillah, we did that. And then around the end of 2007, um, around the end of, no, like the fall of 2007, they asked me to come back. As I was like making my way back, there was one week they were doing Jummah prayer. And so I remember I told you there was a foyer here. So we were in the foyer. I came for Jummah. And so the time was passing. So I was talking with the brother Zaid, and he said, we chopping up. So next thing I know, it's like 1:45. And I said, well, what time y'all gonna do Juma? He said, whenever the brother gets here. I said, whenever the brother gets here, like, why ain't he already? So that's just an indication of some of the things that they were going through. They didn't even have anybody reliable to do Juma prayer. So then he asked me, because we connected on that janazah prayer that I told you about. Um, he asked me would I come and help them, and I said yes, I will, but depends on who's still here because I don't want to, fan no old flames. And even though we put it in the past and we buried the hatches, I didn't want to have any more issues with any Muslims because, in my experience, I see too many Muslims fight, and I see Muslims dying not from each other, but just passing on and not able to make things right. And that's one of the biggest regrets that you can have. That if you had an issue with a Muslim or even a family member or a loved one, and you don't make those things right, it can weigh heavy on your heart. So those kind of things. And there was one brother here, mashallah, his name is Azriel, brother Azriel, rahimahullah, that had passed on. And we used to have some run-ins, right? We used to have some run-ins. I'll just leave it. We used to have some run-ins. And on the time I was telling you when we were trying to make rectification, it was with him and the other brothers. And when he passed away in I think it was 98 or 99, he had left instructions that he wanted me to do his janazah prayer. So from that point on, I made a commitment to myself that I would never actively have an issue with a Muslim because he passed on, and we had fixed it a little bit, but we could have done more. And now that he left, it wasn't an opportunity to do that. But him doing that, asking me to do his janazah prayer, it spoke volumes, man. Like, and I was like, wow. And so then come back to 2007, I agreed to come here, and so for all of you don't know, I've been, working as an imam or some type of leadership role almost as long as I've been Muslim. And so it just kind of like morphed into something else. And I guess the closest title that they can give it is imam. But I just been, being at the service of the Muslims because it is my way to try to earn Allah's pleasure. And that is what I learned from my teachers. One of them was Sheikh Ali Subhan Rahimullah, who passed away last year. And one of them is my beloved Sheikh Imam Salam, Mujahid Abdul Salam, who is one of the most beloved brothers to me in this entire world. You know, and may Allah preserve him. So that's what I've been doing, and they gave it the title of Imam. So I came back here, and so I agreed to, do the job. And on the strength that certain people, if they were still involved, because I didn't want to have run-ins and I didn't want to ignite any old things. So they said no, they're going, okay. So I came here for Juma, and the first week I did it. So you all come here for Juma, right? So how are the numbers when you come for Juma? How was it for Friday?
Who was here?
Any of you were here?
They said it was packed through the door.
Yeah, it was packed to the door, and from what I heard, because I wasn't here last week, last Friday, outside of the door. Yeah.
Every Friday, the whole masjid is filled.
So every Friday, the masjid is filled. That Friday when I first came here in 2007, there were 7 people, including me. There were 7 people, and some schools have thought, like the Shafi school, that's not even enough people to hold you more. In the Shafi school, there should be at least 40 people attending. There were 7, and so, and I knew from being here before the kind of people that were here. So we used to be packed before, but all of those opportunities that we missed to cultivate and grow and nourish this building and nourish this, which is symbolic of a tree, the tree started to deteriorate a little bit. And now, alhamdulillah, since 2007, we've grown significantly, at least as a community, but we have a long way to go. And once we put all this together, and we talk about a fundraiser, we're talking about doing something that's going to last forever, right? Or at least for forever, meaning however much time Allah allows. So, alhamdulillah, our goal and our mission here is to plant these seeds. In order for us to plant these seeds, we have to be together. So we made a lot of significant strides. So I wish we had pictures of how this place looked back then, and you may even find some of how it looked years ago. And if you go on our Launch Good page, so that's one of the means for the fundraisers for those online and those who are listening present. You can go and donate on Launch Good, and you can see some of the strides that we made, some of the constructions that we've done, and you see here every day how this place looks. And just imagine someone who may have come here back in the day, and they come here now, and it looks like a total new place. And there's a couple people who said that to me that I ran into. They used to come here years ago. So we're talking about building something, that's going to have impact, a long-lasting legacy that's going to benefit us, because this is our goal here, and this has always been my goal. Not about, having a leadership, not about having some kind of fame or anything about that, but really working to do something that's going to benefit us when we leave here. So there's a hadith I want to share with you, inshallah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in hadith, he said, "Al-mu'min lil-mu'min kal-bunyan," that the believer to another believer is like a building or bricks of a building. And then he said, "Yashudu ba'duhu ba'da," that one will strengthen the other. And in relating this hadith, they said that the Prophet ﷺ put his fingers together like this to indicate the bricks being together, right? So when that indicates to us, when he put his fingers together interlaced, that indicates a brick being strength, being a foundation, being together, having togetherness, having cohesiveness, and having durability. So there is nothing like, if you look at structures nowadays, some of the new houses, you see a house somewhere and it's built and it's nice, but when you see a brick house, that's a structure to marvel at. If you see a brick house and how bricks are put together, so symbolic for us is that we are people who represents an individual brick. That we are already strong. What makes us strong? La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the ability with the durability by ourselves. And now when we put ourselves together like bricks of a building, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, then that's added strength. And all of these bricks that make up a foundation. And then what will cement it? Once you put bricks together, they're strong, but then they have to be cemented. So all of our actions, all of our efforts, all of our prayers, and our goal is today to raise funds so that we can continue to plant seeds, giving money for Allah who's subhanahu wa ta'ala so that this building can stand strong. So this building, and as we expand, because we got plans for expansion, but this is going to take money, just like anything. So let us continue to be those bricks and, be strong and strengthen each other. So if there's a brick, if you ever seen a brick structure, that even if there's a brick that's chipped, or even if it's a brick that's missing, a brick house will still be able to stand because of the strength and the cohesiveness of all the other bricks, right? So we have a responsibility to represent those characteristics of durability and strength and connectedness and togetherness, you know. And we have a responsibility to carry some of the weight of those who came before us. As we mentioned, there was a lot of nuances here that prevented us from really being where we could have been, and Allah knows best, because we can't say where we could have been. Um, but because we missed a lot of things as far as cultivating and planning, you know, uh, now we have an opportunity to do it again. So, in our goal here, it's threefold that we want to help to fulfill the mission of those brothers that came before the brothers who were part of the administration of the original board that donated these buildings with a vision that they would never see it flourish, but they knew that they saw something in this city. And this is Camden, New Jersey. We used to call it Cambodia, Soup City, CMD, whatever you want to call it. It is like what Walt Whitman said one time, this is a city invincible. And imagine living in a city invincible and being a Muslim who should feel like that they're invincible because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a power of being like a brick, sturdy, solid, strong, and something that's a force to be reckoned with. Imagine where the places that we can go when we understand the job that we're trying to do. So each of us has this responsibility of this, doing, upholding the first thing of the people who came before us who saw the vision, and then the people who came after them, the board members, to fix some of the things that is collective that we missed. Then our responsibility in the current time to maintain and uphold it. So, it's one thing to have a structure, but then there has to be life in it. There has to be maintenance. There has to be, cultivation. There has to be taking care of what you have. Just like if you live in a house, you just can't live in a house. You have to take care of the house. You have to clean it. You have to make sure it's presentable. You have to make sure that it will stand the test of time. And then the other part is that we have to develop something that we can pass on to those who come after us. So every time we step into this masjid, every time we ask to give for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every time we ask to bring our ideas, to bring our energies, to bring our thoughts, to bring our presence, all of this is for a bigger purpose. Every time that we make sajda in this masjid, every time we come in and we make wudu, it is on the backs of somebody else that saw a vision for us. And we have a responsibility, while it may be unbeknownst to us, that we have to carry that responsibility. And I only can tell you the difficulties that it's been, in trying to uphold that legacy and then trying to develop a legacy so like our young brothers and sisters that we have here often, that they can have something that's better than what we've had. Because, in a nutshell, a lot of the things we had to inherit and we had to carry and be durable to carry this message so it can get to the next level. So those are some of the goals that we have here. And anytime that you hear from me or anybody who's affiliated with this community, all of it is about that goal. So when we're pressing you for money, we're pressing you to donate, we're pressing you to buy gifts, we're pressing you to take care of this, we're pressing, there's instances where we ask people to take care of certain things. All of that is for that certain goal. To carry the legacy of those who had a vision for us, to keep the legacy current, and to keep it going for those who come after us so they don't have to walk into the struggles. Because one of the issues that I know when I walked back in 2007, and then the brothers that I mentioned, Zayd and brother Hamza, that they walked into something that they had to try to fix, you know, and they did their very best. And now, walking into that, we're trying to do our very best. But now we have come to a place where we can do more than what is, seemingly our very best. You know, there was a statement one time that I came across by Mike Tyson. Our brother Mike Tyson, who's Muslim. What's Mike Tyson's attribute? Is it Malik?
Got me, brother.
Okay. And there was a saying that he said. He used to say. He said, "I take the punches to the head so that my kids don't have to."
Oh.
So what he meant by that, I'll take on the hardships. I'll take on the difficulties. I'll go through the pain. I'll go through the struggle so that my kids will have an opportunity that I didn't have. And that's what we're doing as Islamic community. Those people who came before us already planted the seeds for us to grow. You know, can you imagine at a time when they left this endowment, these buildings weren't occupied. And now, 40 years later, we are the results of those seeds being planted. And now we have to think about 40 years down the line when some of you young brothers and some of you young sisters are able to take the helm. So we are taking the punches as those who have come before you, so that you can come into this and be ready to have something that's operating, so you can continue to build a legacy that will benefit you both in this life and in the next. So that's what our goal is, inshallah, when we talk about raising these funds. And now, if you think about it, I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but we talk about the tree planting the seeds for a tree to grow in the form of a building. If you think about it, it started with a tree. It started with a tree. You know the story in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he put Adam and Eve in paradise, right? And then he told them to eat from whatever you want to your heart's desire, right? And then he said, وَلَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ, but do not approach this tree, right? So this tree in paradise is known as Shajaratul Khuld, the tree, the everlasting tree or the immortal tree. So think about it. It started with a tree, and the only instruction that they had is they can enjoy paradise and its delights for even anything that they can even imagine. They can enjoy it, and all they had to do was stay away from this tree. And how that is in Islam today, you know, you have so many things that are halal that you can enjoy, but the things that are unlawful are very few. The things that are unlawful that we can't indulge in are very few. And it's not the opposite how many times when people come into Islam, when they had this idea about Islam that we can't do so many things. Have you ever heard this? If someone's interested in Islam, they, oh, I can't do that because there's too many rules. No, it's not. It's the rules are very minimum as opposed to the many things that you can do, right? So they were charged to stay away from the tree. And so now this is tree, as we mentioned, is the everlasting tree, Shajaratul Khuld, the tree that is, everlasting. So then Shaitan comes, who at the time was Iblis, and he comes and he whispers to Adam. And you know the story in another part of the Quran where he told Adam, he said, Qala, Ya Adam, hal adulukum ala shajaratil khuld wa mulkin la yabla. He says, shall I not show you or direct you to the tree of eternity and possession that will not deteriorate? So you would think, so this everlasting tree, so it was the opposite. So Adam, some of the explainers of the Quran says that had he not eaten from the tree, then he would have remained immortal. Had he not eaten from the tree, he would have remained immortal. So Shaitan whispered to him and tricked him, told him that if you eat from the tree, it will give you everlasting life. Right? It would give you everlasting life, but it was the opposite. Stay away from the tree, and you would have been immortal. So when Adam ate from the tree, then it became evident that they didn't have any clothes, and then as it says in the Quran that they took the leaves of paradise and started covering themselves. And because of that disobedience, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told all of them to get out from Jannah, right? So in our planting trees and building the buildings and leaving a legacy, we're trying to get back to that thing that made us immortal, that made us favorite with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then think of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, removing our mother and our father, Adam and Eve, from paradise. And he said, you can go down to earth and you will be down here for a time. Look at all of the delights that we enjoy in the earth, all of the wonders, all of the things you see in creation. If you ever travel just throughout this country, you see all of the monuments, you see all of the countryside, you see all of the buildings, you see all of the history. And just imagine you travel around the world, there are delights and wonders in this earth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed us in. So it wasn't even really a punishment, you know, because just think about if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have punished us, what kind of position he could have put us in. But he put us here to enjoy this earth and to take from it as we please and just thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. So it started with a tree, and now we needed to end with a tree that we're going to develop and that we're going to nurture and that we're going to help grow and develop so that it will be a tree that will continue to benefit us as we continue, right? So this is our call to all of you to think about investing in yourselves and in your akhirah, you know. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says in the Quran, and I'll get ready to end here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Man kana yuridu harat al-akhirah yazid lahu fil harkihi. He said that whoever desires the harvest of the hereafter, we increase him in his harvest. So planting these seeds now to develop a tree that will be a building that will benefit all of the Muslims who come after us. And not just after us, just think about how we all benefit from the community now. To be able to come, you know, this masjid is your place where you could come and find some refuge. It is your welcome center. It is your home. It is where you can come and relax. And, you know, sometimes people always get on us about, oh, I came to the masjid and it wasn't open. Okay, that was the one time that you came. How about all the times that it's open? How about all the time where you know you could come in the middle of the night? You never can come at that time. You can come for fajr. You can come throughout the day. You can take a nap. You can read. You can read. You can relax. You know, this is your welcome center. You know, and so the welcome center needs maintenance as well. You know, so if we invest in this masjid with the intent of investing in our akhirah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase us in the ability to invest. He will send us the means that we need to become successful in investing, inshallah. And then he says it's something that we need to be careful about. وَمَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ حَرْثَ الدُّنْيَا نُؤْتِهِ مِنْهَا وَمَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ نَصِيبٍ. And whoever desires the harvest of this world, we give him thereof. But there is not for him in the hereafter any share. Any share. And this is something we had to be careful about because we've been conditioned in this Western society to always think about us and our immediate needs and our immediate things that we desire and our immediate comforts. And a lot of times we neglect to think about the bigger picture, which is helping to develop something that will last not only for us, but for those who come after us and for those who missed the mark sometimes that came before us, but had the vision. That had the vision for us to be here in this time in 2023. 40 years ago, some brothers got together and they didn't know that we would be here trying to uphold this, but they had a vision for us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sparked in them to keep the community of Islam going. And now I know early on, at least in my experience and prior to that, and some of the opportunities that we missed, that there was never opportunities for us to connect with our neighbors, connect with the fellow business owners, connect with people around the corner, down the block, up the street. And now, 40 years later, we have great working relationships with our community. So I might have mentioned, I hope nobody took it like that I mentioned me, but it wasn't just me. It was people who dedicated themselves, you know, like my family, brothers like Ustad Easter Bay, who's helping me, or his wife, all of you brothers and sisters who come daily, you know, who come to the masjid, who come for Jumu'ah, who dedicate money all the time. You know, all of you are part of the success that we have now. And it might not seem like much, you know. Some people will call our masjid, you know, I heard some people call it a dump. You know, They call it a hole in the wall. And then some people, some of our detractors, they say the broke masjid, mashallah. But that's okay. We take the punches like we've been taking them because we have a bigger goal in mind. Is that for all of us together as a community, that we are planting seeds that will help us to grow in for the afterlife and to grow in this world, and that we need to be remindful and mindful that we're not just working for this dunya. So don't let the shaitan trick us like he did our father Adam, that we're just working and telling ourselves we're doing something that's going to last forever, when in reality, we're working just for comfort. And some of the signs that we see is that when we're asked to remove ourselves from that comfort, we become discouraged. When we ask to give, man, why they keep asking? They keep begging for money. Man, another fundraiser? And some of we have group text. Man, how much more you need? Think about your own home. How much it takes to maintain a nice house, a nice car, a nice living space. And think about the masjid, the one that if we put our efforts into it, it represents longevity, it represents strength, it represents foundation, it represents togetherness. And imagine, the money and the efforts that we put into it. Now, if you look on our Launch Good campaign that you can look, I think, online, and we shared it here through the masjid, and you can also, check it out on our page. We have put a goal of raising $60,000. And if you look at some of the fundraising efforts that are taking place around the world, around the country, that is a very minimal amount that we're asking for. But imagine $60,000 that will not only help us with renovation, but there are a lot of behind the scenes things that we have to take place that make sure we are still able to have a match here. Because there are people who don't want to see us here. Because of the bias against Islam, they don't want to see Muslims here. They want to, if they can, they want to turn it into a business. Anything that's lucrative, without any morality, without any morals, without any values. And us being a mainstay here in this community has had an impact on the community around us. That now, because the Muslims are here, this place is a safe zone. You know why? Because we are people who realize that we have to stand up for what is right and forbid what is wrong wherever we see it and whenever we see it. So we've had incidents here, that we had to tell people you can't be around here with that. You got to go somewhere else with that. You can't harm our neighbors and disturb our neighbors with stuff in society. So we've been people who have been like what they call it, equalizers, and we still carry that old school kind of value that we are Muslims, we're the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created for ihsan, to achieve perfection as best as we can, and we carry it proudly. And we're going to have an opportunity to continue to carry that legacy as long as we stick together and put our money together, and put our efforts and keep our focus together, inshallah. So we should think about the ayat, and then in closing, because I have Ustad Issa Bey to give us some updates. So helping us to build also helps you to build. And I would just remind you, as this was a fundraiser, I gave a history. I'm not that skilled in like trying to get people for money. You have those people who are skilled in doing fundraisers, and I'm not that skilled, but I can remind you with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he tells us, Man dalladhi yakratu Allahu qardan hasana. Who will loan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a good loan, a beautiful loan? فَيُضَاعِفَهُ لَهُ أَضْعَافًا كَثِيرًا. أَضْعَافًا كَثِيرًا, excuse me. And that he will multiply for them many times over. Kathira means a lot. Repeatedly. They will get a reward for them loaning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And how can you loan a loan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when Allah is the owner of everything? It's just a means of you getting closer to him, and he creates that means for you to give your money freely, inshallah ta'ala, fi sabilillah, so that you can continue to grow. And we're honest with ourselves, and we should be. We have to pat ourselves on the back a little bit that we have made some progress because of the success that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already sent. And we've been having an uphill battle in trying to maintain that legacy that those brothers who came before us, and some of them have passed on, and they won't be around, and some of us won't be around to see it grow. But we plant the seeds for a fruit that we may not ever see, you know. And that's what successful people do. You know, I was reading somewhere that says that people who are about, making good choices that have money, said they don't really, they donate for things that they won't see flourish. You know, they donate to things that's going to go where they have their names on. You know, people who really are about something that's going to continue to benefit them, they put things on buildings where their name throughout the ages will be known. So let us be like that, even with the little bit that we have and the little bit that we request. Let it be that all of us are under the banner first of La ilaha illallah. And as community members, we are under the name of the Kubai School and Islamic Center. And as long as this name stands, with our efforts and our contributions and our donations, this will be a long-lasting tree as a building that will continue to reap benefit for the people who come after us, and we will get a benefit for it, and for those who came before us. So, the $60,000 that we request on launch good, or some of you got a text from me that in these last 10 nights, I sent it out to over 100 people. If 100 of us gave $100, which is equivalent to $10 each day of the last 10 nights of Ramadan, that's a quick $10,000, that we can easily do. That we can easily do. There are people in the community who are here and people who are listening online. There are people who can do that in one instance, you know. And so when we think about this, think about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He expands and He restricts the provision for whom He wills, you know. And we need to think about this where He says in closing, Wallahu yakbidu wa yabsutu wa ilayhi turja'un. It is Allah who subhanahu wa ta'ala who withholds and the one who grants. And always remember, he says, and it is to him that we will all be returned. So in thinking about that return, which will happen after we die, we need to think about what we left behind. So in the fundraising campaign that we mentioned, last year, I did it live. So, things have changed for me. But if you're going to launch good, I have put this challenge to many of you. If you're going to launch good, there's $60,000 as a goal. You'll see my name on there because I never ask you to do anything that I myself won't do. So I ask many of you, and I ask you again today, that you can at least match my $500. You can at least match my $500 because I qualify as, one of the sayings is innani fakir ilallah. I am the poor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I got to get mines as twos and fews. I don't have the luxury as, taking this community on and with the help of my brothers and sisters to go out and earn money and luxury. There's difficulties that I will take on behalf of the community so it'll be easier for all of you. But as together we can make it easier. So you can at least match my $500, on launch good. You can at least match my $100. And if you don't have 500 or $100, anything before that, in between or in beyond those two numbers, we can get. So we have on the Launch Good campaign, and also our people online, you can go there and donate. You can even make it better and donate anonymously. They have an option on there that you don't even have to show your name. And it's better for us to give charity than not be known. And I'm only mentioning it as an encouragement for you to give because if a lowly person like me can give the little twos and fews that I earn, how about those who have money? You know, how about those who have savings? How about those who have numerous bank accounts? How about those who has a lot of excess? And if you can't give that, then I also sent out a text message where I gave $100. That's equivalent to the last 10 nights of Ramadan. You can at least match that because you all are better than me. You got to be able to beat me in that. Because there's no other way you could beat me in my mind. But you can at least do that. And if we all represent these bricks that are like a building, and we have cohesiveness, then it's easier. Because alhamdulillah, we've had people who donated, nice amounts, and they are not even from this community. There was a brother who, man, wallah, he put money in my hand and he said, I thank you, Imam, for keeping the lights on there. You know? So if somebody that's not from this community can see what we're doing, how about us who are part of this community? And alhamdulillah, we like to give a special shout out to our online community, that people who support us, who may never make it to this masjid, but they see some of the things that we've done and they help us out. But as the people who have built this and maintained this and continue to maintain this, the bulk of it, I believe, is on us. So please take this moment today. If not today, we'll be running the campaign for 2 more weeks. At least we have another 4 days for Ramadan, and then we have throughout the year. Because one of the things about the tree that we're planting is that you want to see the fruits of it outside of Ramadan. And some of the scholars said that you plant seeds in Ramadan, that you'll see the fruits of it in the other 11 months. And so we're going to see and challenge ourselves in the other 11 months of this year what kind of seeds that we planted here today or prior. So those who have given before, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and double multiply your reward. But those who haven't given, take a moment before Ramadan ends, because this month is why we target this month, because this is a month of barakah. It's a month of generosity. It's a month that we're supposed to go all out because of the blessings that are associated with this month. And even outside of this month, when we make the call for renovations, we have special projects that we're going to be doing, and we post it online, and we send text messages out, and we use all of the modes of communication that we have. Then try to help out, because the end game is that we're going to leave something here that's going to be like a brick building, strong, sturdy, and it's going to be a welcoming center for those who come after us. And then we pass on something to our youth who will take it on after us, and they won't inherit a headache. You know, one of the issues that we had prior is that we had to inherit a headache that we've been trying to fix. And alhamdulillah, we're working towards it, and we won't give up. But we want to make it easy for those who come behind us, because as we get closer to the hour, the trials will become so immense. They will become so great that they're going to need every kind of advantage that's available to them to carry on this legacy. And let's at least be that part to make sure we carry the legacy. Because one of the other things that's upcoming is that we're going to focus not just renovation and expanding, but put in the school and the Kuba School and Islamic Center. So many people don't know that that's the official name of this community. It's the Kuba School and Islamic Center, or more affectionately known as Kuba. But there was a idea that they wanted to have a school here, and because of the missed opportunities, we have instances where we had teaching programs where we're talking about a school. And you know, one of the saddest things, and I'll close so I don't want to take up too much time, that mashallah, we have another community here that's the Nation of Islam, that's different from Orthodox Sunni Islam. Now, in this community, our address is 1311 Hatton Avenue, right? And their address is 1131 Hatton Avenue. And I can't even tell you how many calls I've been getting lately. People calling about, I want to enroll my children in the school. And you know how heartbreaking that is to tell them that we don't have an official school. But they have an official school. The Nation of Islam community, they have an official school. You know how heartbreaking that is to turn people away. And recently I've been having a lot, because I guess when they look it up, the numbers are so similar, they might type in 1311 Hatton Avenue and it comes up. And that's when I get the call. Well, we're going to fix that if we work together and stay committed and give our donations. And remember, it's not just about donations. It's about ideas. It's about things that you can do physically. It's about every time someone vacuums the floor or takes out the trash or sweeps the front or cleans the wudu area or donates or oil or anything that you do, all of that is part of the legacy that we're leaving. All of that is part of it. And whether you old or whether you're new to Islam, whether you're one of the elders or one of the youth, all of that plays a part in the community. That's the legacy that we're looking to leave. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not leave us without a good reward if we put our effort in. So we invite you all who are here today and online to please make sure that you contribute so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you. You know, you still get the blessing no matter what happens. We don't know what the outcome is, but when you plant the seeds, you leave the nourishment and the cultivation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you just do your part. That's what faith is. That's what Iman is. Having a secured awareness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of everything if you're sincere and you put forth a concentrated effort and you do it to earn his pleasure, he will take care of it. And then he will open up the pathways and avenues for us to continue to do it. Because many times we become stuck, though, if I get, okay, that's going to lessen the amount of my bank account. If I get him this money, how I'm going to do? But we miss the other side, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, while you da'af lahu, he will double and multiply it for you. For the person who gives, for the person who is selfless, for the person who may not have a lot and still can give something. You know? A person who might have $2 and gives $1 is way more worth than somebody who has millions of dollars and only give a little bit. And all of it adds up. All of it's a seeds, you know. So we started from a tree, then we came seeds that produce over and over, and now we have this opportunity here today to produce a tree that will continue to produce for us when we're long gone. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq. So I was supposed to cut this short, but you know, once you get into it, I mean, I can really go on for another hour and turn it up a notch to where, you know, the old school way. We locking the doors and nobody's leaving. And we virtually lock the screen. Don't turn off your screen until you donate. But we're not going to do that because we want to make it easy for people. But for those who have donated, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah to bless you, to increase you. And for those who haven't, you know, please consider making a modest or a magnificent contribution. At least match me. At least match me. Because, you know, we represent this together. I'm just the head of it. And really, I'm just someone that they can point the fingers at if something goes wrong. But I represent you. You represent me. We represent Kuba School and Islamic Center. We represent Allah on this earth. We represent this beautiful deed that He has given us to purify us and to show us the way and to give us the opportunity that He will be pleased with us on the judgment day. So this is bigger than our immediate circumstances. This is bigger than our immediate things that we're going through. Every time we come here, we pray, we let the dunya go for a minute, and all of that is part of something big. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us that success, and I will leave it to Issa Bey. This is what I had to present. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from us. Ameen. And He will give you some updates. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam to Allah.
Bismillah. Salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Okay, I just want to give a brief overview of some of the financial obligations that we've taken care of the masjid and things that we look forward to taking care of in the near future. Just to go over what your donations have participated in over the past few years. We've completely renovated the second floor of our building, which includes the masala for the sisters, also the children and mother's room, and the imam's office. We spent a total of approximately $38,000, and I'll run down to you briefly a lot of the things that we've taken care of. And what we're going to do is we're going to upload to our launch good and to our Facebook page the video and the pictures and the slideshow so you can see each and everything that we've taken care of and what we've updated. Okay, just one thing I want you to know, just in the masjid alone, one of our equal payment plans to take care of PSC&G, that's gas and electric, is around $375. You know, so that's why we consistently need this money donated to the masjid, not just your zakat, but your sadaqah, because these are the necessities just to keep the lights on and to keep it nice and cool when you come in here during those very hot summer days and very cold winter months. So included in the renovations, we had to replace minimum of 10 windows upstairs, and we still have to do the ones downstairs. 10 windows, and if anybody knows about replacing windows, you know the cost that goes into such things. The entire second floor had to be re-insulated and sheetrock. So you're talking about drywall, labor, framing, not just the windows. We recarpeted it completely. New floors all throughout. And what came with that is when we took up the old rotted floors, everything we noticed was rotted due to the old windows. So these old windows for years had been letting in rain, snow, melting ice. And what you get with that is it deteriorated bricks. So with deteriorated bricks, they crumble and you get uneven floors due to the ceiling joists or the floor joists sagging due to the bricks' lack of support. So you're talking about at least $5,000 to replace one brick wall with labor, and that included sister joisting the floor to support the structure. So all these things come into play when you have older buildings. We're going to always need to continue to renovate and upkeep this building so that we don't incur costs that are astronomical like that again. So with the imam's office, it had to be completely renovated and taken down to the brick, reframed and insulated. All new ceilings, lighting fixtures, all the videos and pictures will be up to play, and you'll see them. A lot of the construction that was done here, people tried their best. We had to update a lot of things electrically, and we were able to cut a few costs because we have some in-house electricians. But alhamdulillah, we were able to get a lot of things done. We were able to implement and put in new security measures. We have cameras. We have new secured fire safe doors, exit signs, everything that is needed to keep ourselves safe and legal. So these are all the things and necessities that had over time deteriorated, broken down, and we were able to update them and make them very nice. And if you visited about the plan for the building next door, by Allah's mercy, will make it so that we don't have to get on the computer and do a fund drive every year. By Allah's mercy, this will make it so that we can fund our own people and our own economic success. But we have the building sitting right here. Upstairs is completely gutted, and it is waiting for a multi-purpose rental space, daycare, whatever is the best financial decision that we can make. We have plans, and we have engineering plans we're putting together, but we need the contributions of people who actually have the money. So if you're looking for somewhere to put your money to actually grow a community, why not start in a place that is actually at the ground level? Get in where the getting is good. And in 20, 30 years from now, 40 years, whatever it is, we're all in our grave, and we're collecting the benefits of each and every person that comes here, learns here, prays here, bathes here, gets clean here, learns their deen here. I don't care if it's alif bata, you get the benefit of such a thing. So inshallah ta'ala, think generously when it comes to your donations. And know that the Kuba School and Islamic Center, this is a place of continued growth. We have more and more new shahada coming in left and right. We if you know us, we put on a beautiful Eid for our children. We put on beautiful festivities for them. And we want to continue these things, but it costs money. Just so you know, we do not have any rich uncles or aunties that take care of this masjid. We don't have that. Everything that has been taking place is by the generosity of the people that sit here in this building, that participate with us in our communities, and those outside of our communities. We have hardworking men and women here, people that work day in and day out to take care of their families and to help take care of a community. But economically, we just don't have the money that every other community may have. So when you have an advantage of something, you should share it with those who have a disadvantage in that thing. And by Allah's mercy, we will all be successful in the akhirah. So the Imam talked about a school, putting the school back into Kuba School and Islamic Center, a very important factor. We want to provide not just a school where people can come and learn academics of society, but just imagine a place like Camden, New Jersey, where you have so many people who are orphaned, so many people who are in need, that we provide a Quranic school for these people. And then we begin to put out hafiz of Quran, scholars, sending them abroad, sending them around the country to teach. Become a benefit in our community. More often than not, in a lot of cities, you find a lot of masajid. And next to them, all you find is halal eateries, maybe halal grocery and butcher shop, maybe some dawah center. But for the most part, you don't see much change in the society. And that is a reflection upon us. So if you're looking for a place to help gain benefit for Muslims in this world, to help give dawah to people in need, whose stations are begging for us to help them. They're not just poor in money. They're not just poor in food. They're poor in their consciousness and knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What better than to establish Camden's own first United Masajid Quran Academy. And let us, inshallah ta'ala, turn out people who can grow in this deen and help others grow. Ameen. So that's right now is the update that I have for you. There'll be things that we add as we go along. So pay attention to the Facebook page. Pay attention to the Instagram page. You'll see the pictures uploaded just so you can see the progress that we've made. We've come from a very, very dark place in certain aspects of this community. And we look forward to actually being a benefit for many, many, many years to come. Thank you for your kind attention. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hold on, we have a question.
You told me something. You told us something a while back about all things that we do.
Hold on, it's we'll reconvene with Imam Fahim shortly. Did you have some closing remarks, ma'am? Just hold your question. It doesn't pertain to this, so just hold your question for a second. Hold your question.
Alhamdulillah, shukrillah. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. So we thank Isa for those final words, inshallah. But as we conclude here, because it is time for us to observe Iftar, uh, this will resonate. So please, those online, make sure you share this live video, share with all of your networks, and please help us to reach our goal. So we're trying to put together $60,000 on a launch good, which is very minimal in when you think about other communities. And just donate. You can't do that much. We have the scanner on the wall where you can just, it's as simple as putting your QR code up, putting your amount, inshallah. You can mail in donations and help us, inshallah, to achieve our goal. And let's make sure that when we leave this month of Ramadan, it will be a manifestation of the efforts that we put in this month, and we will see it throughout the other 11 months. Sometimes we make calls for people to take specific projects. We'll always spend with Allah bless you to be able to do it, take it on. It's a community where we take on all the challenges that come to us. As we mentioned, we take the hitch to the jaw so that we can be able to stand tall, inshallah, to honor. So we'll finish there as it's time for Iftar. That's the first joy that we have. And the second joy, as the Prophet Islam said, the person who is fasting has two joys. The first when they break the fast, and the other one when they meet their Lord. And so until we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's get busy in cultivation and development and being a strong community for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank you all for your time and attention. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.